Let's see, what am I missing here? Oh yeah. Hat, check. Sunglasses, check. Pepsi, check. Notes, check. Sources, check. And thick skin, check. Let's go. Welcome back to Going to Blue Dude, everybody, and all we do here is college football. So if you're a college football fan, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. And as always, feel free to send gear to represent you and your team. Look around. That's what my background is made of. So if you want to be a permanent part of Going to Blue Dude and my background, send gear to represent yourself and your team to P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina 29657. If y'all have been here at Going to Blue Dude for any amount of time, y'all already know that I love talking conference realignment. I love it. I love it. In fact, I will say this. If you hate conference realignment, then what are you doing here? I mean, that's one of the biggest things that I talk about now. I've been talking about the regular season and how teams are doing and how teams are not doing as far as being bad. I do my top 25, bottom 15. I did that yesterday. And I give my picks as far as who I think is going to win and all that stuff. But I still love talking conference realignment. And all this has been trying to figure out what's going to happen. What's the next step? I'm really infatuated with that. But I got to thinking today, why not talk about the past? Conference realignment that's already happened and teams that have failed because of their conference realignment. Well, maybe not because of their conference realignment, but they have failed after they moved. Now, I could go on and talk about Virginia Tech in the ACC. I could talk about Boston College in the ACC, and I could talk about Syracuse in the ACC. Yeah, that would make for a really long video because those three have been utter failures in the ACC. I will say at least Virginia Tech has won the ACC, unlike my first team that I'm about to talk about. I'm talking about the Miami Hurricanes in the ACC. Everybody thought that this was a home run realignment move. Home run. I still think it was a great move by Miami, but they haven't had any success. They've never won the ACC. Never. And they've only won the Coastal Division one time. What happened? Miami used to be a really, really dominant team in the 80s and the 90s. I mean, they ruled the Big East. And don't give me that, well, the Big East was really a group of five conference. That's why they had success. No! 2001, one of the all-time greatest teams, had nothing to do with how strong or how weak the Big East was. Miami was a great program. And even in the 80s, before they even joined the Big East, they were a dominant program and had nothing to do with how weak the Big East is. This is mind-blowing. How has Miami become this bad? I mean, look at this year. Even myself, I hyped them up. I think everybody hyped them up. What do? They've fallen flat on their faces. I really thought that Miami was going to have a 10-win season. Their two losses on the road to Texas A&M and on the road to Clemson. And then it looked like Texas A&M wasn't good at all. They lost to Appalachian State. I was like, man, this is an opportunity for Miami to go on the road and pick up a big win. And maybe that'll give them confidence to where they can go on the road and beat Clemson. Undefeated season? No, that's not what happened. What happened was Miami fell on their face once again and lost to an inferior Texas A&M. What is up with Miami losing to teams that are not as good as them, that are worse than them? That's what really blows my mind. Then they follow that up by losing to Middle Tennessee. Not only is Middle Tennessee a group of five team, they're one of the worst group of five teams out there. How does Miami lose to Middle Tennessee at home? And then last week they lose to North Carolina. Now they did look a little bit better, but my gosh, Miami, your expectations have been way up here. And this is where you've been. This is where you've been. Not very good. I don't know what happened. I don't know why you haven't been good in the ACC, but that was a terrible, terrible move. At least that's what it looks like. You haven't succeeded at all. You've won the division one time, never won the ACC, and you just keep tripping over yourselves. The next team I want to talk about, my team, West Virginia in the Big 12. West Virginia has never been to the Big 12 championship. That's sad. That's very, very sad. West Virginia is better than what we're seeing. I mean, we are. It goes back to the Big East argument, Golden Blue. That Big East was a group of five conference, basically. No, it wasn't. Do your research. In its heyday, the Big East was a really, really good conference. The bottom line is West Virginia doesn't fit in the Big 12. We got off to a pretty decent start. I know Holgerson had NFL talent all over the place in 2012. Started off 5-0, top 5 in the nation. That's right, go look it up. Up to number 5 in the nation after we went on the road and beat Texas. What happened after that? We lost 7 straight games in a row and finished the season 7-5. We managed to finish with 10 wins in 2016, and then in 2018, we went 8-4 with NFL talent all over the field. Dana Holgerson set this program back a good decade. He got talent in here, but he couldn't win. Neil Brown isn't the guy to get us out. Now West Virginia is looking for the guy. Get us out of this hellhole. This is torture. The next team on this list is Nebraska in the Big Ten. Now, Nebraska started off strong in the Big Ten, very strong. They won it a couple times, but they've been irrelevant for a while now. What happened to Nebraska? Nebraska used to be feared. You saw Nebraska on your schedule. Oh my gosh, we got to play Nebraska. We could have a great season, but that one game we're going to get absolutely blasted by Nebraska. That's how intimidating the big red machine was back in its heyday. Now it's the little red machine. Nebraska is terrible. They're bad. They can't find the right coach. But what's funny is Bo Pelini wasn't cutting the mustard with those 8-4, 9-3, 10-win seasons. No, Nebraska's better than that. Well, apparently Nebraska's not better than that, because ever since that terrible decision by Nebraska, you've taken a nosedive into irrelevancy. Nebraska in the Big Ten, not working out so good now. Next team on this list is Maryland to the Big Ten. Why Maryland thought going to the Big Ten was a good idea as far as success in football makes no sense. Now, I will say this. They are having a good year this year, and they're looking pretty decent. But overall, it's been a disaster for Maryland in the Big Ten. From the get-go, it has been a disaster. They didn't do all that great in the ACC, but every once in a while, they had a pretty good team. In the Big Ten, not so much. We'll see how this year finishes out. Maybe this year is that good year that they have every once in a while. It's looking pretty decent so far, but overall, it's been an absolute disaster for Maryland ever since they joined the Big Ten. It's that stuck-up nose attitude they had. Oh, we're too good for the ACC. We're going to move on to the Big Ten. And that stuck-up attitude that kept West Virginia out of the ACC, and that's hurt the ACC. Everybody knows in the ACC that is a real fact. Bringing in West Virginia to the ACC would help the conference tremendously. All those rivalries, bringing in way more money. Yeah, blame Maryland for a lot of that, especially even from the start of the conference. They blackballed West Virginia all the way until they left for the Big Ten. Now that Maryland's out of the way, is the ACC going to do the right thing and bring in West Virginia? Who knows? Time will tell. Next team is Colorado in the Pac-12. Wow. They started off decent in the Pac-12, but my gosh, they are one of the worst football programs in the entire nation. And I know, they had a decent 2020. But besides that year, they haven't done much of anything. And this year, they are the worst college football team in the entire nation. Not just the Power 5 conferences, probably in all the conferences. This might be a historically bad team, like all time. Colorado has not done good in the Pac-12 at all. It's looking like that was a very, very bad decision for Colorado. Next team is going to be Missouri in the SEC. Now, Missouri got off to a really good start. They kept winning the SEC East over and over and over, but have since taken a nosedive into the abysmal wasteland of irrelevancy. They have done a face plant in the SEC. It's not working out well in the SEC. I thought this was a weird fit to start off with. I mean, they chose Missouri over West Virginia. That doesn't make any sense, but it was ESPN. Blame that one on ESPN. And I know, go back to 2019 when Missouri absolutely blasted West Virginia. What's that got to do with anything? I don't know. I just complained about West Virginia's irrelevancy in the Big 12. So, this is kind of the same balance that I'm using. So don't whine about that, Missouri fans, and say, oh, but we beat you in 2019. Yes, I remember. But in the SEC, Missouri has done absolutely terrible ever since they got off to a very, very strong start. They've just taken a nosedive. I don't know what's happened in Missouri, but they're not looking good at all in the SEC. As the SEC gets better, Missouri gets worse. And finally, the last thing I want to talk about is Texas A&M in the SEC. So much money. Texas A&M has a buttload of money. Yes, they've had some success in the SEC, but check this out. They have never ever been to the SEC championship. Let that sink in. So not only have they never won the SEC, they've never been to the SEC championship, meaning they've never won the SEC West. Oh, but Gordon Blue Dude, they're in the same division as Alabama. Yeah, so is LSU. So is Auburn. Those two teams have managed to beat Alabama and won the SEC West since Texas A&M joined the SEC. So once again, let me hear your excuses of it's because they're in the same division as Alabama. Yeah, now that's not a good excuse. Well, in the years where Alabama was beatable, then LSU and Auburn were unbeatable. Well, you have all the money. Why can't you have a year where you're unbeatable? You haven't done well in the SEC as far as winning anything that means anything. Oh, you've had a winning record, 8-4, 8-4, 8-4, 8-4, 8-4, 8-4. Oh, and that one lost season in COVID that nobody remembers. Face it, Texas A&M fans, you haven't done as well as you thought you would. Okay, Golden Blue Dude, you mentioned all these teams that have failed. What can we do from here? Well, probably nothing's going to be done, but here's what you could do that might fix the problem. First thing is, put Texas A&M back in the Big 12. I think Texas A&M would have a lot of success in the Big 12. They'd still make a lot of money. They'd probably make the playoffs because the Big 12 is actually winnable. Although the Big 12 is looking like a really good conference this year, But Texas and Oklahoma aren't like unbeatable teams like mighty Alabama. You wouldn't be in the SEC West with mighty Alabama. So I think Texas A&M would do much better going back to the Big 12. Missouri, I would say put Missouri in the Big 10 West just to see how they've done. You're taking Nebraska out of the Big 10 West. Let's see what Missouri does in the Big 10 West. I mean, they have to do a little bit better than what they've done in the SEC East, right? Then, of course, West Virginia, stick them in the ACC. I am 100% convinced that they would have much more success and they'd make a lot of money for the ACC. Bunch of rivalries in there. It just fits. What about Nebraska? Well, let's try the Colorado experiment. Let's put Nebraska in the Pac-12. Maybe they have a little bit more success. I mean, it can't be any worse than what they've done in the Big 10 West, right? Then there's Colorado. What do we do with Colorado? Colorado needs to go to the Mountain West. I mean, let's face facts. Colorado is not a Power 5 program anymore. Let them go to rehab, put them in the Mountain West, let them build up their confidence and see what they do after that. But for now, let them rehab in the Mountain West. And then there's Miami, the same situation. Let them rehab in the AAC, build their confidence back, and then bring them back to the ACC and see if they learned anything from their rehab. And finally, Maryland. I would say put Maryland in the SEC just for spite. They think they're too good for the ACC. They were always too good to allow West Virginia in the ACC, so stick them in the SEC just for spite. Y'all let me know in the comments section which one of these experiments has been the biggest failure for you, and where would you send them if you had the choice. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.